and welcome back. Today we're going to talk about creating distance with one-point perspective. We use one-point perspective as a strategy for creating the illusion of depth on a two-dimensional surface. Some important things we'll be practicing in today's lesson is what is and how do you create a horizon line? What is and how do you create a vanishing point? Drawing and using simple shapes and then turning them into 3 dimensions with one-point perspective by connecting them to our vanishing point. And then understanding how things get smaller as they get further away in a picture. And then an extra rockstar challenge will be creating a light source and creating shadows. The materials we'll be using today are a simple piece of paper, or maybe a flattened out envelope or grocery bag. Any kind of straight edge you can use to trace a straight line, or if you in fact have a ruler, you'll want to use that. And then for drawing, we'll just need a pencil with an eraser, or a pencil and a separate eraser as well. You'll want to be able to erase nicely because you'll be drawing lightly and then erasing certain lines and then redrawing them to make them darker. So let's start with step 1. We want to create our horizon line. The horizon line is the line that goes across maybe the middle of your picture, or up high or down low, it's up to you. But for this activity, we'll put our horizon line through the middle, and I'll demonstrate using both a straight edge and a ruler at different times. So for the straight edge, I want my line to go across and perpendicular, which means at a 90-degree angle from the edge of my paper. So I'm going to take my long edge of my straight edge and lay it across the middle, but then I want to make sure that the short edge lines up at the edge of my paper to in fact create that perpendicular horizon line. And I'm drawing my horizon line pretty lightly, but hopefully you can still see it. And it just goes across the page. Imagine when you've watched a sunset. The line that the sun goes behind is your horizon line when you're outside looking at a sunset. And then along our horizon line, we want to create our vanishing point. This is an important tool that helps with the effectiveness of one-point perspective. The actual point in one-point perspective refers to our vanishing point. So in the middle of my line, or toward the center of my line, I'm creating a heavy dot. Now, step 3, we want to create a simple shape. Okay, so think of a simple shape with angles. I recommend for success, if you're doing this for the first time, stick to a square or a rectangle. And I'm going to draw a square. So off to the right and below my horizon line, I'm going to draw a simple square. And this is where my ruler can come in handy, because we know that a square is a 4-sided shape with equal sides. So that means I'm going to draw a 2-inch square. You can make your square however big you'd like. So we have our simple square. Now right now it just looks flat. It looks like a regular square that you always see. We're going to want to connect this square to our vanishing point, which means I'm going to draw a line from this corner to the vanishing point, from this corner to the vanishing point, and from this corner to the vanishing point. Now draw these lines lightly because you will be erasing parts of them in the next step. But notice how I take my ruler. Actually, we can use our straight edge for this because we don't need to measure. And I'm just lining it up so the corner of my square connects to the vanishing point. Remember to use your stabilizing hand to press down and lightly draw a line between those 2 points. And then do the same for the other 2 corners. So now we have what looks like a shape popping out from our vanishing point. But I don't want my building to look like it's 100 miles long. I want it to look like a regular building sitting on the ground or in an area. So now we're going to draw some new vertical lines and horizontal lines to create a new edge for our three-dimensional shape. We want these lines to be parallel, which means they are right next to each other, going at the same angle. So what I do is I'll take my straight edge, I'll move it up against that line I drew, but then I'll keep it straight and just move it over a teensy bit. And then draw from one line down to the other. So I've created a new line right here. And I'm going to do the same with a line that extends this way between these two lines. So line it up with the edge, move it up until I can see where it's going to connect to the line I just drew, and then just draw a line over, just like that. And you can see I've created a new edge, which is creating the illusion of a three-dimensional cube. I'm going to redraw some of these lines so they're darker, and then I'm going to erase these lines that I no longer need. And now I'll erase these lines because I don't need my shape actually connecting to the vanishing point anymore. And so now we have what looks like a three-dimensional cube. Let's notice that this front edge, the front plane of my cube that's facing me, this edge is longer than this one. That's because our vanishing point lines get closer as they get closer to the vanishing point. So that means as things that are closer to us in a picture, they're going to be taller or they're going to be bigger. So if I was to draw a tree next to my building, just like that, it's going to be the same size. But if I want to draw a tree further away, I'm going to want to make it smaller. So over here, I'll draw a tree that's similar, but I'm going to draw it so that it looks a little shorter, a little tinier. And because of that effect, it helps create that convincing illusion of three-dimensional space on a flat two-dimensional surface. So remember, things get smaller as they get further away in a picture. And then our last Rockstar challenge is creating a light source. We're imagining this as an outside scene, so my light source would be the sun. You can draw your happy little sun up in the corner of your picture. And because my light source is here, that means all the light coming from my light source is going in this direction. You notice that? So that means if the light is coming in this direction, the shadows that are created by my objects are going to follow that same direction as well. Just like all these lines connected to the vanishing point, your shadows are following an imaginary line that connects to your light source, just like that. So let's draw a shadow created by my cube. If the light is behind the box, we're imagining the sky further away, the light shining in this direction. So we're going to imagine the shadow kind of coming out and at me a little bit. So if we use that light source angle, you can even use a ruler for this. It helps me map out what my shadows could be doing. This is not perfect. I'm not trying to make it perfect shadow, just trying to illustrate the idea of how shadows work in a picture. So I'll connect these lines like that. And then carefully use the side of my pencil. If you use just the side of your lead, you can create a shaded area a little bit faster. And then the trees follow the same rule. So they're going to go at an angle, and then think about how the shape of the tree looks. The shadow is going to resemble, the shape of the shadow is going to resemble the shape of the object that's creating the shadow. And then maybe even another shadow here.
Little tree shadow. Maybe even underneath because they're so close together.
And there you go. What we've done is we've created a convincing image with depth to it, using a horizon line going across, using our vanishing point in the middle, creating a simple shape, connecting those corners to our vanishing point, remembering that things get smaller as they get further away in a picture, and that if you have a light source, it tells you where to put your shadows to make your artwork look even more realistic and convincing. I hope you enjoyed this lesson, and now that you know these tools, you can practice your own one-point perspective drawings. Until next time, keep creating. Bye.